All right, thanks everybody for joining. What is it? It is May 7th, and we have an exciting guest instructor tonight. I put out the call. We're trying to host these every other Thursday now because some of us don't have much more to do than stare at walls all day. So I figured we can do these from home and muster the instructors. I said that knowing that we've got great instructors around. I wasn't going to have to teach a course every other Thursday, and you were all not going to have to put up with my voice every other Thursday. So that being said, one of the first people to chime in was Miller Newland, and we very much appreciate him doing that. Miller is from Area Q, and it's tough for Q and the other areas to get out to Team 3 events, but if you've been to section events, and he's been down to some Team 3 events. So that being said, I'll let Miller take it away, introduce himself. Thank you very much, Miller.
That's great. Well, thanks very much. So I'll get this going. Yeah, I've been up here in Paso Robles for a while. It's been a good run, many years. I actually started as a player first, spent about 25 years as a playing, and then got into coaching. Did about 20 years there. Got all the way through high school level. I was one of the boys varsity coaches up here for almost 13 years. So that's before I became a referee. So you'll see in the presentation tonight, which we're going to talk about advantage. I'll get it all kicked off. I'm going to talk about it from a player's perspective and a coaching perspective first, and then get into a referee perspective. And I'm doing that because I want you to think about it from that perspective first, because it'll give you some context in terms of how we make our decisions. So welcome aboard. We'll start up. I'm going to click off my video just so you can't see, just from a bandwidth standpoint, but we'll make sure all the screen works real well, and we'll get you all hooked up. So the screen's coming on now. Okay, so what we're going to talk about tonight, advantage, developing patterns of recognition. So this is where we're going, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about it from a law standpoint, because we always need a foundation, a context to ground ourselves. So we'll go into the law book and take some of the verbiage out of there. Based on starting with the laws, then we'll go into the meaning of it. So I'm going to talk about it from a player perspective. Then I'm going to get into it from a coaching perspective, and then we'll talk about the referee perspective, and that'll start moving us into our arena, right? We'll talk about the mechanics of advantage. How do we basically treat advantage as a referee? How do we make our decisions? And how do we let everybody know that we have an advantage situation going on? And then finally, we'll end up with some considerations. And the considerations, I'm going to ground it into about five specific points that we'll have lots of practice tonight on, in terms of going through understanding what each consideration is. And then when I finish up, I've got some video cases to run you through. So if that's okay, we're good. I love a lot of conversation, because that's going to make this a nice rich evening together with us. So please chime in, and forgive me if I pick on you, because that's just part of our interaction as referees. I think there's a lot of things that I can share, and I can learn from other people. So here we go. So working with Team 3, it's been quite interesting. I've attended many of the sessions, and I want to refer back to a session Cindy did about a month ago, and she got us thinking about refereeing the gray areas. And she talks about the technical referee compared to the thinking referee. Okay. So on the screen, if you think about it from the left to right, 6U, 8U, 10U, really we're talking about the player skill level, player age, and we're moving all into 14, 16U, right? So we've got intermediate, advanced, and then 18U, we've got our national candidates. And then as you move on, like Ben's been doing a lot of work on the higher levels, so the 23U, the collegiate, and then you get into the professional level, right? So you can see that skill level is increasing from left to right. And if you think about it from an application of law standpoint, all of our, we're really all technical referees, aren't we, right? We have to think about what the laws are, how do we apply those in all different levels, right? But when you think about it, how does this work from a thinking referee standpoint, right? As we start with the younger ages, right, there's a little bit of thinking we need to do, but really it's and it's more of that's the fun and that's the safe side of the sport. But really, we're grounded based on the technical side of the sport. But as the player skill level increases, when we get 14U, 16U, we really need to start thinking about how we apply the laws. It's not necessarily that black and white. It gets very gray for us, right? So, it got me thinking, because this is really when we get into the advantage area. A lot of this is thinking, and it's that application of laws, right? Now, if I look at it from a standpoint of flow and control, and low versus low being on the bottom and high being on the top, where does this all register for you in terms of as you go from a 6U, 8U, and you go all the way up into the high school, high level AYSO, and the professional? Where does that bar apply on this graph? Is there a lot of flow and control that you have to consider about in 6U, 8U, 10U games?
Not flow, more control.
It's more, right? Exactly. Right. And then how does it work? How does it work as you're getting into the older ages?
You definitely have to start understanding, as we talked before, about the players and how they're accepting. Are they accepting your calls? Are they working with you? How are they reacting to the other players, to you, to the situation in the game? It's a lot more broad-based.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And you can see it follows that thinking referee, right? Because we really need to understand, the context of the laws, but we need to start thinking about it from a player standpoint, from a game standpoint, and it all works in, right? So one of the analogies that I show is I have to move this little control out of the way here. I think about it as a spinning top. And if you think about it, as the ages get older and older, I think that top is spinning faster and faster, and I have more and more people on there, right? Well, as soon as one person falls off, I can start wobbling real quick, right? So think about it as a referee. You're refereeing an 18U standpoint, and all of a sudden one of those players starts spinning off, right? Whether it be a call that they did not agree on, or a hard challenge from another player, and they start getting wound up, and they're like, oh, hey, this is not good. How come you didn't call it? You can see how that balancing the flow and control, it gets very, very important to control that top to keep everything in balance, right? So as you move over towards that, towards the higher levels, we need to apply a lot more thinking, a lot more balancing and flow of control to make sure we're controlling game, right? And when we think about it from an advantage standpoint, whoops, let's see if it comes in. Nope, it's not coming in.
Click back into PowerPoint, Miller.
Okay.
And then hit to advance again. It should come in.
Okay, let's see if I got it right there. There we go, got it, thank you so much. Really, when we think about the advantage, and I was trying to apply where do we really move the advantage, the concept into the thinking referee and in the game, it's really the middle to higher levels. And it really relates to the thinking piece of a referee. It really relates back to the balancing, the flow control. So that is basically trying to set a context. I was trying to relate it back to the other conversations we had, and I think it applies pretty well. So let's look at the laws of the game. Okay, so okay. So so law. This is I took this from the 1920 book, Law 5.3. So allows play to continue when an offense occurs, and the non-offending team will benefit from the advantage, and penalizes the offense if the anticipated advantage does not ensue at that time or within a few seconds. Okay, so there's the main context, and as I went in, I'm just pulling notes from the laws about advantage. So prove referee signals. So this is Law 5.6. So we all know about what signals we use as a referee for advantage. So this is Law 12.3. So if the referee plays advantage for an offense which a cautionable or a send-off would have been issued had play been stopped, we must deal with the issue at the next ball out of play, right? Except for the dog. So And then we caution for unsporting behavior, all right? Some more context: should not be applied in situations involving serious foul play, violent conduct, or a second cautionable offense, right? So this getting into the severity of the foul, unless there's a clear opportunity to score a goal, all right? So that's again 12.3. And then the last piece here: referee may play advantage whenever an offense occurs, but should consider following. And then there's a whole bunch of different considerations here. So we talked about severity, right? So we talked about the severity, serious foul play, violent contact. We talked about positioning, where the offense was committed. We talked about here, it talks about the closer the opponent's goal, the more effective the advantage can be, right? So we need to have that type of consideration and thinking. Chance of a promising attack, atmosphere of a match. So there's the context from the laws, and I imagine if you went through the law book, you could pick out a few more laws that actually apply to advantage. But when I look at this and I say, well, is this clear? What do you think I came up with? Come on, here we go. It's not certain. It's really not certain. When I looked at it and I started highlighting all of the text on there, what I realized is there's a lot of thinking that's involved in this interpreting advantage. Okay, so when we go through this, I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to help everybody out to ground us? Okay, and so basically that's what I was thinking. Help. We need some help grounding this, and this is why we're here. Let's build some certainties to help us out. Okay, so to start this out, and this is what I started with the intro is think about how many years. How many of you were players before coaches? I know it's hard to do and maybe Lewis, you can help me out here, or maybe everybody just chimes in. How many of you were players and coaches before becoming a referee? So I'm seeing a bunch of hands.
Still are.
Can we vote? Where's the voting people?
From what I can see on the screen, it looks like a lot of people were the players and coaches before becoming referee. So good. So what advantage mean to you as a player or as a coach?
It's hard to say it without saying it like a ref, but it's allowing my player to continue down the field if he's got an advantage, if he's got a good situation, to allow him to continue play and not stop it for a foul that isn't necessarily reckless, to let him continue down the field and continue to play, just like advantage in basketball almost.
Yep, let him play. Let him play.
As a coach, it drives me crazy when I get a scoring opportunity taken away because the referee's got a quick whistle.
Mm-hmm. Any other coaches out there?
I was a youth ref and a player before I was a coach, but I'm also a high school coach now. Okay. I think you really know really quick when you've taken that advantage away from a player. If you've had a quick whistle, they'll let you know real quick. Like, what about advantage? They almost know the advantage before you're even blowing your whistle for it. So it's very important that you wait those few seconds to see what develops from it.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember one of my biggest mistakes as a referee was being impatient with advantage. And I gave a dog so, and just as I blew my whistle and pulled out my card, the ball rolled into the goal. So I awarded advantage. Been a little more patient, could have saved a red card and looking like a fool.
Strike that one up to the learning. So basically from the meaning from players, and this is just, I put some words onto it because I was trying to internalize it myself and in working through this progression, right? So keep playing that ball despite the fact that the defending team just fouled me, right? We still have the ball and a fair shot at continuing the attack. The referee will make it right if we don't, right? Okay. Does that register to you guys? Okay, how about this as a referee? Keep playing, you still have the advantage. I've seen the unfair challenge. We'll start again if it doesn't materialize. All right? And really what we see is, right, we've recognized a foul. We know there's a violation of the rules, and stopping would benefit the defense. All right? So from both player standpoint and referee standpoint, it's actually very similar. Okay, it's just we're working together basically to allow that benefit to go to the attacking team, right? Let him play it, give him a fair shot at continuing, so that the defensive team basically doesn't take that advantage away from him. All right. So from a player perspective, do all players understand advantage? No, right? So really, it depends on age and skill level. If I take that advantage call and I say, let's say we have a reckless challenge at a 8U or a 10U level, they won't understand if we keep playing, right? Because they just don't have the experience. It's not fair when they get taken out by another player at that age. They don't understand the beauty of the game just yet. Give them a few years and they'll start realizing it, right? But once you get into the 16, 18U, especially and get into college, club, or amateur, they do understand that advantage. And they realize that trying to find that advantage and create that finishing opportunity, there are very few opportunities and chances to do so. So every chance that they have to create that finish, they want that, okay? They know, all players know what fair play is, right, wrong, dirty, right? The younger players are technical fairness, where skilled players focus on tactical fairness, right? So those skilled players will really appreciate, hey, guess what? I know they fouled me, but I have a good advantage to create a finishing opportunity, okay? So acknowledge the technical beauty of the game, right? Okay, defend hard, although play will continue if the attacking team retains ball. That's accepted as we get into the older game, and it's the spirit of attacking soccer. That's what everybody likes to see. I like to see it from a referee because we get the best shot of the house, right? 10 to 15 yards off ball, amazing players making just a brilliant shot and goal. What a great way to see the game. And so, but it definitely supports that spirit of attacking soccer, right? So when you think about it, at the moment of the challenge, there are two things that we have to think about: stopping play and awarding the free kick, or allowing the team to play forward and carry on the attack, right? And so if you think about it, when we make that decision, this is basically your judge, is how are we going to benefit the attacking team the most? Should we stop it, award that that free kick, or come around to the other side and say, hey, I'm just going to let him play on. We're going to see if that advantage materializes and they create that finishing goal. So I want you to think about it at that moment of the challenge. This is one of our considerations. How are we going to benefit that attacking team, right? But when you think about it and you try to answer these two questions and say, hey, which one should I favor? It really depends. It depends on the players, the skill levels, the teams, the ability, the creativity of the team to move the ball, the situation. And I'm sure you could all come up with a whole bunch of other it depends type of situations that affect us, right? So that gives you the context from a player standpoint. Okay, so let's go through the mechanics. We'll get that out of the way and make sure we're all on the same page. And what we'll do is we'll name through some of the mechanics of it. We'll do a free form, and then we'll just have a quick discussion on it. So give me some of the mechanics of the steps that referees use to judge advantage.
Where are we on the field?
Right. So Lewis, more about where we are on the field. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so there's not much advantage, especially in the youth game, in their own defending third. That changes gradually as they approach the attacking third, and then there's a pretty localized fall off in the penalty area. It's hard to have a better advantage than a penalty kick. So
sure.
That's you're not going to award too many advantages within the penalty area. You may do a lot more wait and see there.
Sure. So positioning on the field is definitely a consideration that we need to think about. So tell me a little bit about how do players know that we've called advantage?
Arm or arms swept up.
Yes.
And shouting advantage.
Good. So
at
right.
the same
So
time.
that's
So they know that it's really important. They know that you saw that.
Exactly. So you're signaling, right? You're signaling with your voice or your arms, right? Definitely one of the mechanics that we have to consider.
Yeah, John Crandall seconds that in the chat as well. He says arm motion. He's catching on to the newer change of just one arm.
Excellent. Excellent.
I said arm or arms.
I always found that the arms were more for the touch lines and the words were more for the players.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about positioning, which is some of the considerations, right? We're going to have to consider whether or not that whole advantage situation happens, right? We talked about signaling. I heard another person come in and say, what does the wait and see mean as part of the mechanics of advantage?
You see something happen.
Go ahead, Shelly.
I was just saying that you see something happen, and I think you probably taught me this, just like count to 3 and just what happens in that moment. And that helps you decide whether or not you're going to continue with your advantage and you actually, signal it, or you call it back.
Excellent.
Did the advantage actually occur? Did they lose the ball? Was it they fall? Did they whatever? Did the actual advantage happen? And now they're or didn't it? And now they're not getting that benefit of that advantage.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also,
so,
I think you can judge the immediate reaction of the players, and that might help you. When you're judging in that time period, you can see if the players want you to award advantage or not from their body language. Maybe their language too.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because I've had a player stop when they were clear through into the goal area. Sorry, into the penalty area with no defender, but they got tripped on the edge and they were going in and they stopped and said, "Hey, ref." I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, well, and then the ball rolled to the keeper. And yeah, you got to call that. That's pretty much the player telling you they didn't want the advantage. I think that's a great point.
Yes. Yeah. So really, and just trying to break it down, the mechanics of how we do it, right? So you got to judge the advantage situation, right? So something happens and you've got to judge it. And we're going to go through the considerations, and positioning, proximity to the goal is definitely one of those. And there's a few more that we want to consider for that advantage situation, right? So that judgment, okay, hey, I've got something I need to think about. Signaling, like you guys brought up, arms and voice, right? Arms, visual, and I like that analogy, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't see on the screen who said that, but arms are for the sidelines and the voice are for the players. And I love that analogy, because that's exactly right. They need to know that, hey, I've seen this and I'm going to let you play, okay, as a referee, right? And then basically we got to let him play, keep playing or stop. We're watching for that advantage to materialize, right? So and then once it's all over, we're going to have to come back and handle that misconduct. Okay, so just simple mechanics of how we work through it. And I think the most important thing, and this has just been my experience, and I was looking back on my high school season this year, and I just realized how important communication is as a referee to the players, so they can understand what you're seeing out there. And it's amazing the type of control you have and the ability to create that relationship with players by using your voice. And advantage is one of those situations. Either I saw a foul or no foul play, no foul, keep playing. If you saw that advantage, you call that advantage, and advantage play and various things. So, okay, so that's the advantage. So when we look into, so that's the mechanics piece of it. So when we talk about considerations, there's a few considerations, and I distilled it down to there's about 5 that I want you to think about, and actually the 6th one, which is players understanding an advantage. A lot of that we've already talked about, right? So the players understanding advantage is basically is an age level, it's a skill level, all right? When you get into the severity of the challenge, right? So the challenge is not severe. The laws also talk about, and a lot of the advice to referees talk about match temperature. So will the call that you make during that will that advantage call, will the match allow that? So if it's a really rough match where there's hard challenges come in, you may choose not to play advantage because you have to bring the game back into control, right? And so when you think about the severity of the challenge, I want you to also think about match temperature, right? Possession maintain, right? So if I have a foul that comes in, if the attacking team doesn't maintain the ball, well, that doesn't help. That doesn't give the advantage to the attacking team. So we have to judge possession, right? Lewis, your points on positioning on the field and proximity to goal, very well stated. Promising attack. Now that's one thing I didn't hear. Now promising attack, and we're going to actually spend a few slides because me coming from a player and a coaching standpoint, I like to actually use that as the tactics of defense and attack to actually help me determine whether it's a promising attack. And it's a lot easier as coming from a player first or a coach first going into the referee ranks to make that decision, right? And at the end, basically, did it materialize? Did they continue on, and did they gain that full benefit? So those are the considerations, and I'll take you through a few of them. So age, skill level assessment. We talked about skill level, right? Age of players. How do you find out about that, right? How you just know by the game that you were assigned, right? You got notes on teams. Maybe you're in a league or a tournament, and so you can find out from the tournament director or the type of tournament you're in, the level of teams that you're playing, right? From other referees, coaches. There are games when we go over to the section tournament in Bakersfield, and I'm checking and I'm talking with the referees from the previous match to say, hey, what did you guys see in the match? And what did you learn from the players? Who are the star players? Who are the players I got to watch out for, right? And that gives you an assessment for the level of kids that you're working with. And you can also talk to the players, ask them the questions on their style and level of play, right? So when do you do this as a referee?
When you're checking the players in?
Yep.
Well, and a lot of time, if you already know what games you're assigned to, you can do a little bit of homework prior to you even pulling out of your car and just say, okay, what kind of level am I working with? What kind of teams am I working with? How do you prepare before you even get out of the car?
Great point. Great point. Shelly and I, just to share a story, so Shelly and I had a great mentoring session. She did one of her high school matches this year. I was assigned as her AR, and she was being assessed by our basically our county staff, and we had a great mentoring session going into it. And those type of questions were part of the homework going into the game, right? So what's the level? What level of game am I officiating tonight? What have I heard about the players? Is it a low level? Is it a high level? Are they hard attacking players? Are they hard defending players? Do they like to play hard? How does that get me prepped for the game, right? And so going into that game, right, whether you're looking at rosters, whether or not you're looking at your assignment, that's part of your homework of thinking about, okay, age, skill level assessment going into the game, and then taking that to the next step is that if I'm going to play advantage in this to these players, do they have that understanding of what advantage is? The other piece is I'm actually, one thing I do in my pregame with the coaches and the captains, I actually talk to them and I say, hey, I expect you'd like us to play advantage today, and they always nod their heads, right? So I say, give me 3 seconds before you call it, because they immediately, as soon as the foul is going to occur, their arms are going to be waving, they're going to be shouting, hey, that was unfair and everything. But they know that, hey, if we have this conversation saying, I'm looking for that advantage, give me a few seconds. Just something to get the coaches and the players on board and start building that relationship, all right? So the other piece of it is during the game, think about watching the game, watching the players, watching the teams progress, because there's things that you can glean from those players to say, hey, is advantage working here? And if you think about match temperature, you might be calling advantage for a couple different decisions, and yet, although you thought you were giving advantage, you're going to have to read those players to say, hey, guess what? Is it still working? Is the match temperature still under control to where I can still maintain and play that advantage, as opposed to saying, hey, I need to cool this down and bring that control back to the game. Okay, so second piece, consideration, no severe challenges, right? Our whole goal, protecting the players, right? We don't want those severe challenges. Safety is paramount. We need to protect those players. And so so think about it. If it's a severe challenge to where I have a severe injury, the advantage, although they will be able to perhaps create a finish on goal, we have a bigger direction, a higher direction, basically, to take care of the safety of those players. All right. Careless challenges, that's when you have a decision point, right? I can look at that and say, well, okay, I acknowledge it's a careless challenge, and if it's severe enough to where it moves into the reckless phase, hey, guess what? That was a reckless challenge. I'm going to play advantage, do your advantage, and then you come back and then you can address the misconduct afterwards, right? Always consider about game temperature in terms of making that advantage situation, right? And just like we say, is read the players, try to understand if the game will allow the advantage, and you'll maintain control, okay? All right, so of those considerations, I've got age, I've got severe challenges, okay? Here's the position, proximity in the field. Have you guys seen this in the AYSO teachings?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So good. I'll let you guys help me out then. All right. So somebody tell me about attacking from the. So we're attacking a goal is to the right side. Okay. So the right side of the screen. We're going to start on the left side of the screen. So somebody tell me about position and proximity from the defensive third and the perspective at advantage.
Well, there's very little goal scoring opportunities on the red zone there in that defensive third. Probably not going to award what's the word? An advantage there. You might have to stop, address the situation, make a call, make a decision there. So very little that's going to happen on a goal scoring opportunity there that's going to be advantageous there.
Excellent, excellent. You're exactly right. It's very, very rare. Risk is too high, because what happens if you award advantage, all of a sudden the advantage materializes and they lose the ball. Then there's an immediate counterattack, right? So it can work against you. So exactly right. So somebody tell me about the middle third.
I mean, that's kind of a gray area, right? I mean, that can be good. That can be. It depends on how that team is playing. Are they playing with control? Are they moving the ball up? Does it look like they have runners and passing lanes or are they playing the ball back to a defender? And I mean, it kind of depends on what's happening at that point.
Excellent. Excellent, and you're exactly right, right? You're improving the ability to create that finish because we're moving closer to the goal. But like you said, we have all those other considerations that we have to think about. Will they still have the advantage, right? The farther away they are from the goal, there's probably more defense in the way, closing that space and shutting down those opportunities, right? So depending on the style of play, that speed attack, through balls, or maybe positioning, that can help them, and that just can help you make that decision of do we play advantage. Okay, so somebody tell me about the attacking third.
You're going to get some grief if you call that foul in the attacking third most of the time, instead of allowing advantage to go.
And why is that, Shelley?
Because they may have some people lined up. They have a plan of attack right there, and they have a high likelihood of getting that ball into the goal.
Exactly. You start thinking 25, 30, 35 yards out with a strong boot, and man, they can if it's a shot on frame, they've got a good chance to finish, right? And that attacking third is right there. You have a great, with the strength of legs these days, you have a great advantage to create that finish. Okay, so I'm going to pick on Ben now. So Ben, you tell me you tell me about the penalty area and whether or not we should call we should call advantage in the penalty area.
Okay, so advantage in the penalty area is obviously going to be a tricky process. The one advantage that we have as referees when dealing with advantage in the penalty area is we don't signal for advantage in the penalty area. So it gives us even longer on that wait and see opportunity. Because there's no rush to make a signal, we have a good opportunity to wait. If the ball's in the back of the net, great. Otherwise, it's easy to blow. On the other hand, we do need to be cognizant of not waiting too long. If there's a chance that the ball is still going to end up in the back of the net, we can wait a couple of seconds. But if there's no chance, if the ball is immediately turned over, because of the significance of awarding a penalty kick, it's important to be strong and it's important to be firm on making that decision relatively quickly. So applying advantage in the penalty area it's a tightrope walk where we have a little bit of leeway, but in terms of man management, it really will come down to appearance. And if the ball is not in the back of the net within a second or two and it's not about to come off someone's foot, the whistle here should definitely be going.
Good point. Great. Well said. And it gets back to, hey, I got to make those two decisions, right? Is it going to benefit the team by immediately calling a DFK or PK, or can I wait that few moments to see if I can put it in the net because they have a ability to score on frame, right? So that's exactly right. So you can see, so position and proximity to the goal, we need to think about this, okay? So all very, very valid points, all very, now interesting, as you get into the more advanced play, you really need to think, and I can't remember who said it, but I know you were saying it from a player and a coaching perspective, because you were thinking about, okay, what type of promising attack am I setting up based on position and proximity to that goal? My example, I was refereeing a Cal Poly women's game, and in the defensive third, about a third of the way out, one of the players, and they were attacking from their defense to their attack. There was a hard challenge on one of the defensive players that was actually moving towards attack, and they were progressing the field down towards their goal. But it was so far away, I immediately called it, but she said, hey, referee, you need to call advantage. Let me play. So I was like, wow, that's really different. And that was so far back in the defensive third, it got me thinking that really it's position and proximity are important, but we need to think about that promising attack, the ability of players, all that coming together. So the next pieces about it is considerations about promising attack. So tell me, what is promising attack to you? How would you define it as a player or as a coach?
I think, again, it's interpretation, because, I mean, again, like you said, a defender could actually take the ball up and become an attacker very quickly depending on the situation, but it has to be something you're going to be able to see that's promising and that there's opportunity for that. Most likely we're going to decide on calling that foul in the defensive end, but, again, interpreting what's going to happen and anticipating what's happening on the field of play, the speed of the players may allow some advantage to occur where we usually wouldn't.
Exactly, and in some of the keywords, it's really that opportunity. It's an opportunity to advance. Okay, so who else? Give me another definition of what promising attack means.
If the player regains control of the ball and have full control.
Exactly, right. So the promising attack is when the player that was challenged, that they had the challenge, or the team, basically they retain the ball and they can move forward with it. Good.
Yeah, John Crandall's piping in from the chat. He says it depends on how advanced the team is on their skill level.
Good, exactly. So ask John on the chat. So give me a couple words about how advanced, what advanced team means. As he's writing that, is there anybody else that can define what a promising attack is?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, Matt said it, you know, if it's you know, if you're, depends where they are, but under, maybe Pedro said it, you know, whether they're under full control of the ball, can they now do what they want to do with it? Do they have the opportunity to control play at that point and proceed as if they were unencumbered almost, you know? I mean, if somebody's tripped and they're stumbling, and, you know, I mean, even then that can be an advantage if they play the ball forward to a teammate who's got it clearly under control. But, you know, it depends on the situation, but, you know, you want them to be able to do what they want to do with the ball without having a negative effect from the foul.
Okay, excellent. Lewis, any comments from John?
Yeah, it just came in. He says your example, Miller, of the high school team, they played from the defensive side of the field to the offense. So being a fast team helps out.
Yes, speed, right? Speed, and the speed of attack, right? So number of players, speed of attack, exactly. And as we get down to really what it is it's a tactical advantage, right? So as many size, the challenge attacker retains the ball, or the ball's retained by the team, and the attacking team is adjudged to have a numbers advantage, right? So somebody said it there, I have a really good chance that I can keep moving forward, right? And that chance gets better with the numbers up, right? More numbers of attackers relative to defense, or I have some spacing perhaps, or positioning of my defense, of my attackers in terms of how I'm moving together relative to my defense, right? Okay, so really what it gets down to in terms of promising attack, I want you guys to think about the principles of attack and defense. So this is when you get into the advanced and national coaching courses. And also I did some work with the NSCAA when I was doing high school, and they have a very similar program to AYSO when we talk about principles of attack and defense, right? So I'm gonna walk you through there, and then I'm gonna ground you on this to say, after this you're gonna say, oh, this is what a promising attack means, okay? So when you talk about Kizer Principle, so the first thing, your first move on an attack is basically, I'm trying to take the ball and I'm gonna try to move forward, right? So an advantage, did I retain the ball, and as the first move, can I move forward, and does that give me an advantage? It does, unless I have a defender in front of me, right, that can immediately pressure the ball. And because when they create pressure, I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I basically have to release that ball immediately, right? So if I have an ability to move downfield, I'm great. But if I have a defender coming on me, that's basically taking the advantage away from me, okay? Now, if I take my shape side of it, which is my second attackers, the supporting attackers that come in, if I have supporting attackers immediately front side behind the ball, or if I have attackers with width, so this is spaced away from the ball, that's giving me an advantage, because immediately I can take that ball after my first challenge and I can start moving it away. Immediately that can help me progress down the field, right? However, if I have defenders in front of me that are covering all my supporting attackers in a covering and balance role, that's taking it away from me, right? So you can see that if I have my advantage comes from the number of players in terms of how we're working together, and a relative number of defenders that are working against me to shut my options down, right? Okay, I can continue on, all right? So now I got this dynamic movement piece of the attack, right? How I'm moving around in that space, moving that ball around, right? But then again, if I have defense that's compacting and shutting that space down, I'm not gonna have an advantage, okay? So do you guys see how this is balancing off? So when you think about a promising attack, what you wanna think about is that, do I have ability to move downfield? Do I have support to the side of me, to the front of me, or behind me? Do I have more people around me with width that I can move the ball around and start moving that space, right? Okay. So I'm going to give you a couple examples right now, and I'll get you guys to work through me with this, okay? So I was playing with my little animation tool, and let's see if we can get this to work for us, okay? And you guys just chime in Hopefully it'll work and it'll show you. Okay, so basically I have a single attacker. It's a U14 club team, okay? So they got a little bit of skill level. Orange was attacking on blue defense. It was a goalkeeper, so it was a 1v goalkeeper. Play starts with a reckless challenge. Say in the midfield, the ball went to the orange. Ball was retained by orange by the attacking team, and with a 1v1 situation. So somebody run me through the principles of attack and defense, and then make a decision, do we have a promising attack? And remember, this is a safe place, right? This is a great safe place to have a conversation and take a chance, right? We're learning here together, so give it a go.
Okay, the attacker has got penetration. There's no pressure on him. He doesn't really need support because it's 1v goalkeeper.
Excellent.
So I mean, it's still it's clearly an advantage, even though it's just basically the first two principles: penetration for the offense and pressure for the defense, which doesn't exist.
Exactly. When I click on it, exactly, right? Because you've got there's no pressure, just like you said, right? And so there's my advantage, right? Why do I have advantage? Well, guess what? If you add up the columns, I got more on the left side than I do. I got more on the attacking side than I do on the right side. Okay. Okay, so now it's going to get a little bit more complicated. So let's work this one. So this is a U16 team. I've got blue attack on red. Okay, I've got 3v3. It's really 3v2 plus goalkeeper. All right. Play starts with a reckless challenge on blue, and so from their middle third. Okay, and the ball is retained by the attacking team. All right. So. You want me to run that again?
Do we care about offside?
Okay, so I'm going to say that it's onside. The ball was timed correctly, and the left wing player was onside. So somebody walk through the this matrix. Tell me if you got an attacking advantage.
So yeah, there is an attacking advantage. There's the width, that when he goes off to the far side of the field, they're a little bit off balanced, right? You have 1v1 for the players on the right side, and that blue player, that 16U player, is attacking on the left-hand side there. So there's some advantage there. There's some creativity there. There's penetration still. Very little support by the time the ball gets to him. So that would be an advantageous play.
And tell me about the defense.
They're compact and they're balancing on the right-hand side of the field, but once that ball gets to the left-hand side, he has a pretty clear shot there. Excellent.
So promising attack?
Yes.
Excellent. Right. That's exactly right. Right. Because on the attacking side, you had all of those working for you. Right. Skillfully trying to progress. Nope. Immediate pressure from the defense. They hand the ball off to the second attacker, and then you've got this great overlapping run. Right. So you've got the support, you've got the width, you've got movement. Excellent. Excellent attacking advantage on that one. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So here's number 3. Okay, so I'm just loading some more players in the field right now, okay? So now I got an 18U team, right? So I've got good skill level, so they can understand what advantage is. I got 5 green attackers working against 7 defenders, including the goalkeeper, all right? That was my shot at making a challenge, so kind of looks goofy, but oh well. Okay, let me play it again. Okay, so I have my yellow attacker coming in, right? Taking the ball. Ball was retained by the attacking team. The attacking team basically took the ball down to a certain point. Good pressure, good coverage, and good balance by the defensive team. And at the moment that we had to judge whether or not advantage materialized, now's the decision. So walk me through it. Somebody take a shot. Okay, so let me I'll help you guys out a little bit. So let's talk through the attacking piece first. So were they able to penetrate and move downfield?
No.
Not really, huh? Because you had good pressure from that first defender coming in and closing that space, right? How about support? How about support, attacking support?
Your attacking support is pretty limited.
It's limited, right? You had some players here on either side. Can you guys see my cursor when I move it around?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got two. Oh, sorry. I'll let this play out. So I've got two attacking supports right here, right? But they're not in a real good shape to provide a lot of support and width to those to that first attacker, right? Mobility, not very much, huh? So attack's not looking really good. So somebody take the defensive side. Tell me about the defense.
There's a high level of pressure. It's really good coverage. It's balanced. They're compact, and I'm not sure how to answer the creativity part, but
I saw the guy draw a little. He drew bike. No, I'm sorry. No.
Excellent. If I was a coach, I'd be praising my defenders because they did a wonderful job. They immediately pressured ball. They had good coverage to close space and reduce that time. And they were backing it up with good support and on a compact defense. So the defense did a great job. So would you guys say this would be an attacking advantage or a defensive advantage?
Defensive advantage.
Excellent. Excellent. That's exactly right. Right. It was an attacking advantage because the attackers they just could not move that ball around. All right.
And it looked like the orange defender came up with studs up.
Yes, you got excellent eyes. Excellent eyes. So when I took you through these things, really, all I'm doing is I'm looking down each column, each one of these attacking principles or each one of these defensive principles, and I'm trying to weigh whether or not, hey, which one looks like I have an opportunity here, right? Which one's weighing towards the attacking side or defensive side? So when do you judge that as a referee?
That judgment can come anytime from foul to the next couple of seconds while you're performing your wait and see.
Excellent. Excellent. So that's part of your decision making, right? That's part of your consideration is I see the challenge and I'm going to immediately start spanning. I'm going to scan the field and I have to make that assessment. Do I have that promising attack? Excellent. Excellent. So let's go off to the next slide. So the final piece here is basically just does the consideration does the advantage materialize, right? So play moves forward, attack progresses, and I want you to look at the second or third touch on the ball, and we're making the assumption that the challenge player or a teammate basically received that ball, and now what we're thinking about is that second, third touch on the ball to say, did that advantage materialize, right? And when you look at that second or third touch on the ball, you got to think about, is it a deliberate attempt or was it reactionary? So reactionary meaning, hey, I might get it. It might push me off balance. If it's off balance, am I giving the benefit to the attacking team or to the defending team? If that was the second or third touch, if I was off balance as an attacker trying to receive that ball. So this is the challenge. This is a challenging piece, and you got to make a decision as a referee. Hey, guess what? If they were off balance and they didn't have time to create that progression through by playing the ball off to other players, then they probably didn't have they could not benefit from playing advantage, and it would be best to pull it back and actually cause and restart with a free kick, right? But if the ball goes to that attacker, they receive it in good position where they can move forward or they can start swinging the ball wide, and in a good attack formation, hey, that's a great. They've got the ball and they can move on, and that's definitely the advantages of materializing for them, all right? So once decided, you can't judge the outcome of the opportunity. What does that mean?
Well, if advantage is developed and they get a shot off and they just put it over the net, You really shouldn't go back and give them a free kick. They had their bite at the apple and they missed it.
Except
So
for
how many-
the penalty area, right?
Just outside the penalty area.
Yeah, I was saying, but within the penalty area, that is exactly what you apply. Correct it. I mean, you do look at the outcome.
Yeah,
maybe.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
I agree, but isn't that what we just talked about earlier? You kind of do look like you're not calling anything, you're not signaling advantage out loud, but you are saying, well, let's see if a goal materializes. It didn't. Okay, well, now we're going to award the right.
Let me extend that.
Can I step in here and finish off what I was saying? So what you're saying is correct, but it's dangerous because you don't call the PK. The player has a clear run on the goal. They should score, and then they don't. And if you then award a PK, you may run into some trouble, especially at a higher level game where players are expected to make those shots. A little easier at U14, but just saying, got to be careful.
You're giving them the opportunity of the shot, but not necessarily the score, correct?
In my opinion.
Once they shoot it, can you judge the outcome of that shot?
Well, earlier we said you could.
Well, if as long as you're progressing downfield and you're creating that finish, that's something that you can control. But you can't. But with that shot, once that shot's made, you can't judge the outcome of that opportunity, right? As long as you're basically giving them the opportunity for that shot. And I guess that's my point. Is that you have to, once advantage materializes, you have no control over that outcome other than just giving the advantage to the attacking team to create that finishing opportunity. This is probably another discussion for this. We could probably go for 20 or 30 minutes with some cases on this one. So, and then this is what we do on our follow-up.
Yeah, it sounds like it's perhaps most simply explained by that graphic you had, Miller, that showed areas where it would show your likelihood of awarding advantage by position on the field, and in the penalty area, it's not very likely to award advantage because it's hard to beat the advantage that a penalty kick provides.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Well said. Okay, so let's just ground this, and we're going to bring it back to a conclusion. Okay, so and then we're going to work into some case studies. Okay, so takeaways, advantage, right? So proper application advantage gives players a sense of safety and fairness, right? Safety and fairness. We got the foundation for the laws of the game. However, there's a lot of interpretive needs of the laws of the game, and so we had to put our thinking cap in really to understand what advantage is, how we're going to apply it, and then that balance of flow and balance in the game. Important with the signals and voice to tell players to keep on playing. They need to hear it from you as a referee, right? And at the end, there's we bring it down to these specific considerations to make that assessment on advantage. Okay, so I'm going to take you into. Let's see if I can get this working now. Ooh, don't want to do that. Let's just. How do I get to the end? Okay. Now I've got some case studies here, and some of these are up on the Google Drive. I work with Lewis to load those up, so we'll take a shot here, and hopefully our bandwidth is fast enough to see it. So I've got a couple of the slides that the advanced course and the Expo course uses, and so we'll go through those. I came up with a couple of 2 cases here, and so what I'm going to have you do is on each one, and if you want to, you can print this out or just take some notes on this sheet. It's basically what's this across the top. So skill, age level, severity of challenge, match temperature, position on field, promising attack, advantage materializes. What are those called?
The criteria.
Exactly. Those are our criteria. Those are our considerations that we want to judge, right, for that advantage decision. Okay. So so for each one that we're going to work through, and I've got a as we go through these slides, I'll take you through each one of those. So as you're building your case for that decision for each one, what I want you to do is go through each one of these considerations, and then we'll basically come up with our decision. Okay. So somebody takes a first shot at this, and somebody can run with it. Okay. So blue number 7 in a promising attack plays the ball to blue number 5 in an offside position and involved in active play. So red goalkeeper collects the ball and then distributes to begin the counterattack. So review this, and who would you call advantage? And who would I be calling advantage for?
Well, it's advantageous for the red goalkeeper who's already collected the ball and distributed to begin their counterattack than to call up the offside there.
Excellent, excellent, good. So help me with that one. So do I give you any information on to help you with your analysis, your considerations on age or skill level?
Well, 8U players might still collect the ball if it is an offside position.
Sure.
But I mean, you'd have to judge the skill level, the age level there. I'd like to think that the red goalkeeper collecting the ball and then beginning to distribute that counterattack involves some sort of skill level there to see that play.
Sure.
Severity of the challenge, I don't think that's very severe.
Nope. No challenge.
Position on the field, it's happening right there in the attacking third. So it's advantageous to the goalkeeper, which is a defensive advantage.
So just to clarify, so it's attacking third for the blue team, but
right.
The red goalkeeper collects the ball, so the red team is in their defensive third.
Right.
Okay, good. Tell me about the promising attack.
Promising attack, it's not so promising for the blue team and probably not so promising for the red. And then advantage materializes, it's advantageous to the red, but it very unlikely that they will score from that play. Sure.
I didn't give you a lot of information here, and so thank you for playing, because you're doing great. You're doing great, because as a referee, we need to think about all this, right? We need to think. So I've seen some amazing teams where the goalkeeper is distributing out to the wings, and they immediately start an amazing attack down the wings, because they have that skill level and they have that ability to do that. So in those cases, I'm like, hey, that distribution, red's getting a great advantage by doing so, right? I've been on teams where the goalkeeper gets it, they try to play it out, but they're just not at that skill level that knows how to just distribute the ball, right? So it depends, right? So it depends, and this is the harder one to say, right? But in general, if I'm dealing with a higher skill level, right? It's skill level and age level. Decision was more important as skill level increases, right? So as that ability increases, they know how to take advantage of that. There's no severity, like you said. Position on the field was distributed from the defensive third to the middle third, right? Promising attack, it depends on the open space, right? So we need to think about that from an attacking advantage and that promising attack. What is the shape of that attack in terms of how we build that out? And advantage materializes. I don't know. We're going to have to make an assumption there, right?
There's also low risk there, because the red team has complete control of it. So the risk is, mitigated because the keeper has it. They can take their time. They can do what they want. I mean, I think there's a low risk of calling that.
Sure. And how does that risk change once the ball is distributed?
Well, then it's all started again, right? But
sure.
but they have it. They can do what they like. They have a multitude of options. I think so they can take their time and do what they like with it, right? So that's kind of part of that judging of, hey, were they able to do something they wanted under full control?
Mm-hmm. Good. Good.
But I guess, Miller, I think, again, important is the skill level, because I think at sometimes we've let the lower level goalkeepers collect it, and when they're allowed to, maybe in the 14th division, 14U division, punt it, maybe they shank it, and then you're just like, oh, I should have awarded them the offside call.
Sure, right.
And it's like those kind of little things that as the game grows, you're hoping that you're gauging that if that goalkeeper's been consistent on their punts, consistent on their throwouts, that you feel comfortable allowing that play to still the flow of the game to still move.
Excellent. That's great, because you're reading the players, right? Okay, let's build this next one out. Okay, so this is blue number 3 is advancing downfield, past the midfield line. So this is an 18U high school team against a white-black defense. All right. So we're going to look at the slide footage here, and let me know about can we apply advantage to the blue team. All right. I'm going to play that one more time. It looks like it was a little choppy. How was the video from all y'all?
It looked good over here.
It was a little choppy, but it looked fine. Could see the gist of it.
Okay. Okay. Let's go forward. Here we go. Whoops. Let me go back to this. Okay. So walk me through this one. So give me an analysis of that advantage play.
High skill, age level.
Right.
Severity of the challenge was fairly high. Twice. Position on the field, is that attacking third? Is it a promising attack? Absolutely. And did the advantage.
What was the? Tell me about the promising attack. What made it promising to you in terms of attacking and defensive principles?
So not compact, not his direction on the field, right? He's moving forward directly at the goal, keeps his feet. There's no support per se that I could see. Maybe there was, but I didn't see it. I mean, this was a great effort by this player.
Excellent.
And then the advantage materializes. I would say so. That's I feel pretty good since he scored.
Exactly. Great example, and great conversation, right? And good defense of it, right? So you got a good advanced skills. It was a careless tackle. Maybe it was reckless, considering maybe a tactical foul, right? Because you've got a 1v2 on goal with probably a great player. Was it a highly skilled player? Did they read that going into the defense? Read that, and they were actually trying to go after that player, but they just missed. Definitely good position on the field, open space to attack. They had good support and width on it, but the attacker player didn't need it. He was just going on that goal. He says, "Hey, I'm going to create that shot," right? And to your point, low defensive pressure and cover. There was no balance, and he was basically creating up a 1v1 and goalkeeper, right? So exactly, great, well played there, awesome. Okay, so you see where you guys are doing great. You guys ready to go to the next couple levels? Okay, so these two I actually loaded up. So if this doesn't come in on this, you can load this up. Okay, so I've got 2 clips from a 23U collegiate team. Okay, so let's walk through this one. So I got an overtake by black, got a challenge. And here's the replay. Okay, who wants to walk us through this one?
I'll take a shot at it.
Okay.
Skill level is high, very high actually. Severity of the challenge, I don't think it looked that bad. It was kind of like a trailing foot catching her on a trip, probably deliberate, but regardless, the ball squirted through to advantage. The referee gave a nice, clear advantage signal. It was in the middle third of the field, but it clearly created an opportunity to get numbers up. I think it's a promising tack. I think advantage materialized.
Excellent, excellent. Does anybody disagree with that analysis? Or can somebody add 1 or 2 points that will help defend that advantage decision?
It didn't look like the defending team was very balanced. They had the right side of the field open, which allowed the attackers to potentially go downfield.
Excellent. And what consideration does that pertain to?
A promising attack.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay, so let's do this. Let's exactly right. So great advantage play, right? We got a good high level teams. Perhaps careless, definitely at least careless tackle. Could be tactical because the defense saw, hey, guess what? Attack could have been. If there was a takeover, they could progress downfield 30 or 40 yards and create a finish, right? So it might have been a tactical tackle by the defense trying to slow it down, right? Good position on field. They had ample room to move. Promising attack, right? Good support. They had width. They had at least 3 attackers on one pressuring defender with good space, right? So good promising attack, and the advantage definitely materialized because they took the ball. All right, excellent. You guys are figuring this out. Okay, and then I've got one more here. This is the same level. It's a 23U. So white team's in possession. Okay, they're going to make a forward pass to a checking in attacker. And the attacker is contacted by a red defender. Okay, so that's going to be our decision of where we have to make that advantage call. All right, the red defender retains the ball and progresses on with the attack. Okay, so I want you to walk through this with me, and let me know. Come on, here we go. So there's your pass. Ball's retained. Okay, good. So before we go into this analysis, somebody walk me through what a referee would see right here, and just kind of walk me through what the referee is thinking. Right? Okay.
Good long through pass to a player, but she's challenged pretty heavily.
Okay.
Doesn't really, I mean, obviously loses the control of the ball, so there's no control of the ball there. She immediately kind of does not retain control, or is not able to do kind of what she wants via an advantage.
Sure, she doesn't lose the possession of the ball, but she's in an off-balance position right now, right?
She's not really she's not really in control of the situation.
Okay, good. Okay, then we progress, or I'm getting my mouse to move forward.
Goes to a defender.
Okay.
And now that advantage is gone.
Right. Exactly. Referee sees it and calls it. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you for that commentary. That was awesome. I'll just let this play out, and then it's going to just play it one more time. And now we're going to go through those considerations. Somebody else can walk through those considerations with us. And here we go. Oh, sorry. Got to take you back to, there we go. Okay, so walk me through the considerations here. We can all chime in. So age and skill level, low, high.
So it looks like a college level game.
Excellent. Tell me about the severity of the challenge.
Just looked like a careless tackle.
Okay, so careless tackle. Bordering on reckless?
No, it just looked careless.
Right, just careless, right? Typical for this level. Yeah, this is a typical play for that level. They're going after the ball. There were both players going after the ball. Red player wasn't going after the white player with intent. Position on field.
Midfield.
Right, but good position from an attacking standpoint at this level to create a potential opportunity.
Yeah, if she can turn and find opportunity, it could have been a promising maybe advance for advantage, but she doesn't look like she had any support.
Agreed. So yeah, so you're going into the promising attack. So where's the promising attack here?
It started with the defender making that penetrating pass from a far distance.
Exactly.
But stopped with the careless tackle, and it's probably a tactical foul too.
It could be a tactical foul, right? Because they say, hey, guess what? I got space behind me. Maybe I have some runners coming on, and I cannot let this attacker get the ball, right? How about what about in terms of attacking support and width to the player that's receiving the ball?
Again, not much there. It looks like she has one player to helping her out.
Yeah, just one player, right? So it's a questionable promising attack, right? And to everybody, like you said, advantage didn't materialize, right? So when she received the ball, there was great pressure on that defense. As soon as she tried to pass the ball back, immediately went to a defending player, and so basically advantage did not materialize. And the rest.
And one thing to know is like what also formation that teams are running. So if they looks like they're running a 4-4-2, so that could also play into your advantage also, and seeing what opportunities for teams can arise.
Exactly, and that good analysis, because as you get into there, right, because there's your tactical awareness of how those teams are working together, right, and especially when you get into the higher levels, because even though it might be a 4-4-2, they might only need 2 players to beat 4 attackers, right, and so it's that tactical positioning and that ability all playing together. So yeah. So this, hey, go ahead.
Before you move on, I'd like to make another comment on here. So what we've talked about is great, but as we move towards the next level, and in this particular match and this particular foul, it's not as applicable. But the other thing to notice is position on the field means more necessarily than just defensive third, attacking third, middle third, those sorts of things. Where does this particular foul, where does this particular incident actually take place?
Yeah, what does the position on the field add to this?
So I've got the way I'm seeing it, Ben. I'm basically 10, 15 yards ahead of midfield with space behind me.
Yeah, and so I'm not so much concerned about the tactical aspect. This is more from a game management aspect. We're sitting here right in front of the technical areas. Fouls in front of the technical areas adversely affect the temperature of the match much more than fouls that aren't directly in front of the technical areas. So the bar for when we're calling advantage, that consideration of, is this good enough? Is this a good enough advantage to justify not calling that foul? Well, that flow versus control in front of the technical area is a much finer line. We have to be more aware that fouls in front of the technical areas we probably want to aim more on the control side than fouls that are, say, in the center circle or on the far side of the pitch.
Excellent comment.
Yeah, looking at the risk reward here, your reward could be a mildly successful opportunity to materialize an attack, but what you're risking is that match management aspect where this is in front of the benches and things will flare up there. So it's already right. You're ready to pull the trigger on that whistle when you get in front of the technical area, and it's going to color your thinking.
Excellent comment. Excellent comment. So, so I'm looking at the time. Appreciate you guys hanging out for this hour and 15 minutes. So let me just bring it to a close. So, great conversations tonight. There's a lot of context in Learning Advantage. You can see that as we progress to the older skill levels, we need to move into that thinking space, and we really need to make ourselves aware of all these different considerations, thinking about it from a player perspective, from a coaching perspective, lending that as part of our as part of our context, right? Basically, to be a referee, right? When we're making those decisions in terms of advantage, here's the common considerations, and we're all down to about 4 critical ones. That skill, age level, you know, we're going to know that going into the game, but we center it on those 4 considerations. And to Ben's point, there can be a lot more reading into it, right? When you're getting into the technical area, right? And that can come in and support some of the decisions of stopping the ball, starting with a direct free kick as opposed to playing advantage. So so hopefully that helped you out tonight. Work on those considerations. Some of the recommendations would be when we start playing and whistling again, dedicate 1 or 2 games. Cover a couple of the considerations before you go into your match, and then work together as a referee team and make your whole focus that game as I'm going to look for advantage, and I'm going to go through those different considerations and give it a go. Get some good feedback from your team, and good luck to you all.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Miller. I know we're all.
Thank you very much, Miller.
Thanks, Miller.
Yes.
Really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know we're all looking forward to when we get an
Miller.
opportunity to put that to use, right? We'll see when those opportunities come around. But yeah, fantastic work. I can see Miller put a lot of work into this, everyone, and I'm sure you could tell, and he's sharp on the topic, and great job instructing. Thank you very much, Miller. And also, I admire your celebrity, Miller. You got so many people attending, new faces, and we might lean on you a little more frequently to get higher attendance. Miller.
It's humbling working with you guys, because it's nice to get the presence of all you. And I can tell you, as a referee, it's a little nerve-wracking when you're trying to instruct in front of a bunch of smart people. And what I found is, and I've learned every game that I go into it, there's always something you can learn. And as you go in from a humble position, you're always going to get better. So thank you guys for the consideration and the attention.
Yeah, so in 2 weeks we have Miller again. We're going to be working on proactive refereeing at that point, so that's going to be great. And then 2 weeks after that, we've got a special guest coming in from the Caribbean. So that should be fun. Jimmy Stewart will be teaching. Most of us haven't heard from him in a while, so that should be nice. Just real quick things. I think I caught everybody in the chat who is not on our emailing list yet. But anybody, if I didn't reach out to you, shoot us an email, and we will get you on the mailing list if you'd like. It's pretty simple. Team3 refs. TEAM, the number 3. refs @gmail.com. We will definitely get you on the mailing list, so you know when the next one's coming, when Miller's teaching in a couple of weeks, and you get the link for that, and when Jimmy Stewart's teaching 2 weeks after that. So yeah, we'll definitely be seeing more of Miller on focus discussions, and in the fall, provided we had soccer, Miller is working on adding a program there under the and using the Team3 banner. So that's going to be fantastic.
Great stuff.
Yeah. Unless anyone else has any questions on Advantage, that's where we will wrap it for tonight with a heartfelt thank you to Miller for doing a great job.
Cheers. Thanks
Even
again.
my cat liked it. It was wrapped.
Thank you, Miller. I need to work off some of my winter weight.